There's three main views on the timing and the nature of the millennium, the 1,000-year reign of Jesus Christ. There's a view that's amillennial, there's the postmillennial view, and there's the premillennial view. You can see they all have a different prefix, post, and pre. Now, there's a view out there some hold that they'll claim that they're panmillennial. They say they're just going to believe it's all going to pan out in the end. And I always like to say that I'm pro-millennial. I'm for the millennium anytime. But as you can see in each of these words, there's a main term there, the word millennium or a millennial, which means 1,000 years. It comes from the Latin. The Latin mille is 1,000 and annus is years. So 1,000 years is the millennium. So in the Bible, the millennial kingdom is that phase of God's kingdom when Jesus Christ rules and reigns. And although the word millennium never appears in the Bible, the duration of this kingdom of Jesus Christ is stated 6 times in Revelation chapter 20, verses 1-7, and it's said to be a period of 1,000 years. Now, let me just mention up front that the things that all these views agree on. I think it's always good to talk about what we agree on before we talk about what we disagree about. All these views, amillennial, postmillennial, premillennial, we all believe that Jesus is the king. That Jesus is the king, that he's Lord of Lords, and we all believe that Jesus will one day return to this earth, literally, physically, and visibly, to judge the earth. So those that hold these views, we all believe Jesus is the king, and we all believe he's coming back someday. And those 2 points of agreement are part of kind of the essential, the eschatological essentials or eschatological non-negotiables, if you will, that bind us together as believers. Now, we have to recognize, though, there are some significant differences between these different views and how we understand the events of the end times. And this is not just a study in some kind of irrelevant theory, because whichever one of these views you hold will determine how you understand the characters and the chronology and the consummation of the end times. So let me mention now the 2 main points of disagreement. Well, there are a lot of differences between these 3 views, there's 2 main points of disagreement. The first is, when will Jesus reign? The timing of his reign. Amillennialists and postmillennialists believe that the kingdom is now, that Jesus' kingdom is right now, that he's ruling now, that his kingdom is between his first and second comings. So it's a present kingdom that's now. Whereas premillennialists believe that it's going to be in the future. Now, the second question is, how will Jesus reign? The nature of his reign. Again, amillennialists and postmillennialists, they believe that it's a spiritual heavenly reign, whereas premillennialists believe it's going to be an earthly, literal reign, a reign on the earth. That's how he's going to reign. It's not just a spiritual reign, it's a literal earthly reign. Now, with that in mind, let's just look at each of these views real quickly and how they look at these 2 different points. And then I want to get into the reasons why I'm a premillennialist, but I want to lay this foundation first. The amillennial view, it has the letter A in front of it, obviously, before the word millennium, which has the idea of no millennium. It negates the word. And when you put the letter A in front of a word, it negates the meaning. That's not really true, though. They do believe in a millennium. They just don't believe in a future earthly, literal 1,000-year reign of Christ. And so amillennialists believe that the kingdom of Christ is right now between the first and second comings of Jesus. They believe it's not a literal period of 1,000 years, but a symbolic long period of time. And they believe that Satan is bound today as a result of Christ's death and resurrection, according to Revelation chapter 20, verses 1-3. And they believe that Jesus now, his kingdom's not going to be a literal future physical kingdom, but they believe it's a present spiritual kingdom, with Christ reigning in the church, in the hearts of believers, and in heaven over the souls of the redeemed. Now you say, well, what about postmillennialists? Well, it's very similar. They also believe that Christ is reigning now. It's symbolic. It's not a literal 1,000 years. He's reigning right now in a spiritual kingdom between his first and second coming. But the difference is postmillennialists believe Jesus will come back post, or the end of the millennium, after a golden age has been ushered in on this earth by the preaching of the gospel. They think this golden age is going to come by degrees as the whole world is eventually Christianized. And when that happens, Jesus will come back post, or the end of the millennium, after it's already been established here on the earth. Now, the premillennial view, the view that I'm going to argue for, is that the second advent of Jesus Christ will precede the millennial reign. He's going to come back to this earth visibly and physically and literally and gloriously. And he's going to set up that 1,000-year reign on the earth. And it's going to happen after that 7-year time of tribulation is poured out on the earth. And premillennialists believe that the millennial kingdom will be a literal, physical, earthly kingdom of 1,000 years where Jesus is going to rule and reign on this earth from his earthly throne in Jerusalem. So that's the premillennial view. Now, you say, well, which one of these views is right? Well, that's the big question. And what I've got 6 points, and they spell out an acronym. The acronym is pre-mill, P-R-E-M-I-L. So each one of these starts with one of those letters. It helps me remember them better that way. So I believe this view is far superior to these other views. And I'm going to give you these reasons why I think it's better. The P is promises of God. The R is retribution against the false trinity. The E is it's the earliest view in church history. The M is it's the most natural reading of Revelation 20, verses 1 to 6. The I is the incarceration of Satan. And the L is the literal 1,000 years in Revelation 20. So I want to look at these. We're just going to look at the first few of these, and we'll pick up next time and give these other arguments. But here's the first point, the P,